Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Vegas. I'm your host, Roy Evans, and Bruno is running around somewhere. I am here with Julius the Mad Thinker. Thank you for being here.
Yes, man. Thank you
Greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate your contribution to house music. Real quick, we are at the Viejas Hotel and Casino and Resort in Alpine, California for West Coast Weekend of 2019. And everything is popping off. Ran into this brother last night. I hadn't seen you in a while. Little welcoming party there. You and Mr. V killed it. Oh, everybody killed it. Bumpy Knuckles and everybody else.
Yeah, Yuro. Yeah.
Yep. And it's good to see you, man. Now, this dude here is here. Because he's a badass DJ, first and foremost. And I'm not just saying that because I'm partial, but you've been doing it for a minute.
Started DJing in '94 and then internationally since 2006.
There it is. And predominantly you live in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm born and raised just outside of Chicago, but been living in the city since '93.
And like currently, I know, I didn't say it personally, but I totally dig that Prospective album.
Cool, and thank you for contributing.
Absolutely.
T-shirt or...
Yep, absolutely. I forgot to tell you that personally. I had that on thump for a minute. What are you into currently right now? What you got going on?
What I have going on? Well, primarily, we just started Mi Casa Holiday season right now. So we just got back from Costa Rica. So first, for those who don't know, Mi Casa Holiday, we are a travel and music community with a built-in event production and travel concierge service. So we produced 4 events or 4 destinations per year: Costa Rica, Cuba, U.S., and Mexico. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we just started this season 11 in Costa Rica, and we started in San Jose, the capital, and then we kind of give a sample of everything that Costa Rica has to offer.
Okay.
And then we also connect our guests to the underground house music scene as well. Right?
There it is.
So you get the tour aspect, and then you also get the music aspect, but all part of one experience.
It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so it was awesome. I mean, the weather in Costa Rica, it can be, it could be really hot. It could rain. It could do all types of different things. But it was amazing. It was amazing.
Nice.
I still feel the vibes.
Who'd you have out there?
So we had Deep Just from New York, Get Open Sessions. So he came this year. Every year we've had a little. He's been one of the staples that have been there.
Okay.
Our event in Costa Rica, primarily what we try to do is it's really kind of for the travelers. House music, traveling or music and travel enthusiasts that are searching for new destinations that they just never been to before, and then we connect them kind of to the scene, like what I was saying before. So. But then we have artists, anyone from Allah to Chuck Love to Lisa Shaw to they've all been out there. Galen and Solar from Sunset. We had quite a few artists, but Deep Just came out, myself, and then there's some really good local Costa Rican DJs. John's Moscow is one. He played with us at the underground place called Antique. It's an amazing venue, and looks like a antique mansion.
Nice. I mean, that's actually really cool because it can be a kind of a thing. Some people don't really pay attention to that, where they go somewhere else, but they don't really utilize the local talent. And that's really cool that you guys did that.
I think that's important because what I noticed from producing destination music events is, and in going to them, a lot of times you get to the locals, and the locals are only playing in the very, very beginning, so you don't really get a chance. And so one of the things we do in Mexico, actually, for one of the events, we do one event that's only the local talent, and then we bring all the international guests and travelers and DJs to see them for the night, and it's really great because you get the opportunity to see them, how they feel like they're like the stars of the night in their own city.
Yeah.
And their local friends that go support them feel like this sense of pride.
Yes.
So it's really,
Yes.
really beautiful. It makes me feel like, I don't know, it gets me all like tingling inside when I think about and I see them like, things that we see on like videos of like superstar DJs and how they're in places that we've been behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get a chance to see.
Yeah.
But they get a chance to be that in front of their own guests, and that's a very unique, situation, and it's really cool to see.
Because it's arguable that they got that opportunity because they were good enough, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And what's really, interesting is the disparity between the people that are good enough that don't get that opportunity. Like just how big of a difference that is, to give someone that's good enough a shot, for his people to see him, to see how good they are. A crowd of people, peak hour, not the, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when, nobody's there or something like that.
Yeah.
It can make all the difference in the world, especially when what it takes to get good enough.
Yeah. And yeah, we all know that, talent isn't always what gets you, to where you need to go, even though like talent seems to be what you should be. But there's so many other things that, that are part of that equation to success.
Yeah.
It obviously, it depends on how you define success, but yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of networking. There's a lot of investing in yourself. There's a lot of persistence, and your passion has to drive you. You have to, be able to accept everyone's criticism or non-belief, and use your passion to kind of fuel you past all of that.
Oh yeah. And then after all of that, I like to say even hard work has to get lucky.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's not one person. It's funny because, you have some artists, those experiences where artists feel like, no, they worked for everything that they, did to get where they are.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right that even someone put them on.
Oh, yeah.
Someone believed in them. Someone invested in them. Someone did something for them.
It's kind of like split hairs. I'll say like the difference between being independent and being self-sufficient. You know what I mean? It's like you don't hunt your own food. Somebody else killed it for you. You earned the money, don't get me wrong, and you have the money to buy it, so you can eat.
Yeah.
But it's not like you don't need anybody.
Right.
You have to convince that guy that that's your job and he should give it to you.
Absolutely.
You got to convince that chick to spread them for you. I mean, whatever it is, someone else has to give you the green light and give you and open that door for you to do that. So I'm not knocking that. I mean, I respect it for what it is. But what was it? There was something that I saw, because I'm kind of in and out on the social media thing. But every now and then I'll see something that'll speak to me. And somebody said something like, I'm paraphrasing, like stop making bad DJs popular or something like that. It probably wasn't that crass, but that's basically what it meant.
Okay.
And it kind of spoke to me as far as like the climate and how along those lines where people get wherever they get, and they come across like, oh, it's because I worked hard and I'm good for. And it's hard when you're in the same industry, when you're in the same field, and when you're in the same field, whether it's DJing, whether it's production, whether it's on the assembly line or whatever it is, whatever your industry is, it always looks different when you're in it,
It's just night and day, which is why the majority of artists really understand that, especially the successful ones. They understand that. They understand that it's a constant grind, regardless of how it looks.
Because for one, there's getting it and there's staying there.
Yeah. There's getting it. There's getting there. And then it's remaining relevant. And it's interesting because when you're new, you have a different set of problems than when you've been there for a while, right? And it's interesting because sometimes it's a blessing that you haven't hit that like peak where everyone knows who you are, right?
Yeah.
Because if everyone knows who you are, then it's very difficult to, recreate an idea of what. There's ways to navigate around it. How you feel about what you're doing next. And how the trends are changing and so you got a whole different set of issues that.
How do you stay relevant?
Right. Versus someone who's not really known. They can, because they're not really known, they can kind of adapt very easy. It's almost like small business and big corporation.
You get a little more flexibility.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, and granted, it's arguable whether or not it's more work or not, and whether or not you can get as much work, depending on what you're doing. But it's a thing, and it's a real like solid thing, like that difference, between the two. I struggle with it personally because when I first started playing, I didn't want to be like some big DJ because back then there weren't any real big DJs. There were cats that were more popular, but it's not nearly like it is today because the times were different.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really badass DJs that would kill clubs that no one knew about because it was off your radar.
Yeah, and the way DJs, like clubs and where DJs were placed and the perspective of DJs and what their job is and how they didn't want to be bothered, and it was more about here's my space, and everyone respects that space, whereas now the DJ is commercialized as a part of the industry, right?
Hey, look, this is trending, you got to do this, you got to do that, and
you got to do that, and let's set the DJ up right there, which from an event production, it's great because you're giving people more access, but sometimes the question is, what's too much access? Because that same access that you're giving people to see that superstar DJ who probably, like Paul Oakenfold, was one of the first superstar DJs, might have been the very first one, right? Where like it was like every DJ's goal at that point now to become that super DJ, even whether you knew it or not. Like everything you did now, you needed to be there, right? So now it's kind of, there's a lot that goes along with that package now. So, it's a different time, just like you said. It's a different time that we're living in, and some of it I appreciate and I love because I do play both sides on the event production and then also from the DJ. Giving so much access, like for instance last night, then you get people who are dancing with you and doing your set and all this stuff. So, which, hey, it's just a part of it. Whereas before,
it is.
That's unheard of. And if anyone ever saw it, they would never have seen it anyway because the DJ would have been way up in a booth someplace, back in the day. So, So in the end, it does end up being about perspective, and I think that it is an entertainment industry. So
yeah, it is.
I guess it just boils down to how do you want to maintain it and and handle it.
Yeah, it's like how do you navigate being a good guy and having boundaries, And see, you know what?
Hey, but that's good. It's
and tested it out twice, and it's still,
Yeah.
But how do
you said being a good guy and having boundaries.
Yeah, and having that balance between just having boundaries. Like say for instance, physically, you were more accessible last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So obviously it was a lot easier for somebody to just walk up. And it's cool. But generally speaking, let's take the DJing out of it. At the very least, you're working.
Yes.
You're doing something that just doesn't happen by itself.
Yes.
And you can't expect today's party goer. I feel safe making that distinction.
Yeah.
Today's party goer to see that for what it is.
No, they don't. Primarily, I believe, because they feel like they're contributing something to. Well, it's a twofold. Like you're DJing, and I'm feeling your groove. Therefore, if you're doing this to me, or then here I'm gonna go and spread what you're doing to everyone else. It becomes this thing. This is
which is
thing that comes into some people's mind. I mean, I'm just guessing.
Which is kind of cool. And I'll even take it a little bit further, and I want to give that back to you. You know, I appreciate what you're doing. You got me feeling great. I'm dancing my ass off, and now I want to hug you and take a selfie and, you know, kind of invade your space a little bit.
Yeah.
You know. And I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, so the question is, when do you say
technically
no?
You're in the way.
Yeah, exactly. In the nicest way possible, you are in the way. It's funny because my wife, and I joke with my wife and my sister all the time, you know, and as they start to get closer, my sister's the funniest because we know each other so well, and it's almost like chess, right? And she'll sometimes just get kind of close, just to see what I'm gonna do, and I'll have one move to see what I'm doing, and then she'll just joke around and she'll act like she's gonna do something if she's gonna get closer to me or whatever. It's pretty funny.
Well, you know what? We managed to keep the wolves at bay last night because somebody almost jumped in and handled that. Yeah. It's one of those things where it can go wrong, and it can come across like you being, you know,
exactly
unappreciative
or a jerk or exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny now, DJs in our time, actually, this is something that, you know, DJs back in the day didn't have to deal with as much.
Because you didn't go to see the DJ, you went to go hear the DJ.
That's true. You went to go hear the DJ. That's a great distinction.
Because I caught myself saying it the wrong way this morning. I was having a conversation, and I said see and not hear. I was like, damn it.
Yeah, you're right though. You used to go hear the DJ.
Well, you know what? The thing about it is, like when I first got into house music, I'm not going to tell that story again. But when I first got into it, I didn't even really get the whole DJ side of it, you know. And I'd already been DJing, but I hadn't been into a spot like that before. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't really see where he was unless you knew, or, you know, it wasn't like he was hidden, but there were no spotlights. There was no, you know, it just was. That was the place with enough space for him to be, and that's where he was, and there was no focal point on that.
That's interesting. First of all, I never even knew I was going to be a DJ. The way it, you know, the not as long story, but starting at maybe my first party, because I lived about 45 minutes outside of Chicago in the suburbs. And in the suburbs, you do the same things every weekend. And one day I was like, there's got to be more than this.
Yeah.
So I bet my cousin that I could get 500 people to go to a party at my house. Okay,
so stop. First off, you have a house that can fit 500 people.
Well, I lived on a half acre lot, right? And so inside, outside, with everything, I lived in kind of like the rural area.
I was going to say, that's not really suburbs. That's actually kind of like country.
I lived kind of in the country of the suburb, right?
Gotcha.
Like I lived in that area. And so the only way I was going to be able to do the party was under two conditions, of course, from my mom. Mm-hmm. And that was, one, if I wrote a business plan, and two, if I were to make any money, that I would give my sister spending money for her first trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So,
go mom.
Yeah. So I ended up writing the business plan, and my mom let me do the party, and I was able to get 605 people to the party. And the reason I know that because we were writing the the numbers on everybody's hand, right?
Really?
605 was the last one that I saw the person at, right?
Wow.
And so, and then I was able to give my sister $500 to go to Puerto Vallarta. So my sister eventually she goes to Puerto Vallarta, has time of her life, comes back and asks, she asked that company that set up her tour, her tour, to work for them, right? So she eventually becomes the youngest student organizer in that company's history, right?
Ah.
So for me, of course, after that first party, you know, getting all those people, you're just like, my gosh. Of course, we start throwing more parties, right? So I did another one and another one. And along the way, I started to disagree with the order of the songs that our DJ was playing, right? Because I loved to dance. And so, of course, I would say, can I try it? I try it. And finally, 1994, summer of 94, Energy Flash, Joey Beltran. I was always practicing with Joey Beltran, right? Because I love that track. And I just always remember it was like, you know, it was like, da-dum, 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 da-dum. I got it. Oh my goodness, the feeling.
Yeah.
I never felt anything like that. So, long story short, my sister goes 20 years of travel and hospitality. I go 20 years of DJing and event production. And in 2009, we produced one event in Mexico, and that was Mi Casa Holiday. And then that event, 11 seasons later now, has evolved into a travel and music community. So whereas before our mission was to go from local to an international location as people's lives have changed, but they still wanted access to the music, right?
Yeah.
So their lives have changed, and maybe their local bar wasn't necessarily conducive to their everyday life. They could choose once a year to go to an exotic location, and then while they were there, we could set up a platform of artists and different promotions, you know, that they could experience while they were in an exotic location. Just
to hop in really quick, in that whole description, I greatly appreciate you not using the F word, because there is a difference, you know, because I was thinking about, you know, it being season 11 and it being international, but what's popular now is festivals, you know what I mean? And it's not a festival.
Yeah.
You know, this is grown folk business. And I'm not knocking festivals because, I mean, I've done, you know, my share. But it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the very beginning it was funny because my sister, she was the one who knew what the name of what we were doing was going to be. And she's like, hey, I know the name, Mi Casa, Su Casa. I'm like, really? Okay, great. My house is your house. I'm like, yeah. And we grew up
and from then, everything you do is under that umbrella.
Yeah, so Mi Casa, Su Casa was the first part of it because my sister and I grew up in a multicultural background, like with everybody. And she'd been going to Mexico for years and years, like from that first part, you know, so she knew right away Mi Casa, Su Casa. And for me, I just played in like, I think London, not too long when we were deciding. And I had always realized when I would go, you know, to international and play internationally, I had never ever heard anybody say, I'm not going on holiday. Everyone was like, oh, I'm on holiday. No one was saying, I'm not going on holiday.
Yeah.
It was like mandatory, right? But in the States, it was kind of about, oh, I can't afford to go on vacation and so and so. So it was Mi Casa, Su Casa Holiday. It was like, you know, my house is your house, so anything you need, of course, I'm there for you, that vibe. But taking time for yourself is mandatory, so holiday, Mi Casa Holiday, right, for sure. So, yeah, in the beginning, it was about bringing people to an exotic location outside of just their local clubs or whatever the case, right?
Yeah.
Now, kind of our mission has shifted in a way. Now that there have been events like West Coast Weekender and other events have been inspired by this movement and community, and now producing their own events. Now it's our job to go out in the world and say, hey, you know what, in Greece, you know, or Croatia, all of these, you know, house music, travel and music fans, hey, there's West Coast Weekender. And West Coast Weekender, you know what, you want to travel to, and you've produced events, and how many times has someone come to you and said, hey, you know what, man, I was in like Mexico, so-and-so, and I saw this club, and it was so cool, you got to go down there and meet this DJ, right?
Yeah.
Or someone says, hey, you know, I went to, you know, the Virgin Islands, and it was so great, but it would have been so cool if we would have found a great house music spot, right? So these conversations have been being had for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And so now it took us years to understand really kind of what we were, and then we realized, oh, we're a travel and music community, because that's really what we were doing from Miami. We were traveling all over the place just to go be around this music and this vibe.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is that like there are many events, and you probably can relate to this just being in Vegas. Everyone's promoting what they're doing. but there maybe not as many or not anyone really promoting what everyone was doing.
Yes.
So in the beginning, I used to be a part of a promotional company. I was a crew and a community called 3 Degrees. And what we did in Chicago was, again, everybody was promoting everyone, right? And what we did was we went in and said, hey, we made this ultra lounge where everyone could be there, right? And then we had a calendar that would have everything that was going on in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So it was a place where it was like almost like this neutral forum, right? And so now with Mi Casa Holiday, it's kind of like, it's very similar in that way. Mindset is like, I see all of the events promoting what they're doing. You know, I see Defected, I see Sunset Beat, I see Groove Odyssey, I see Tribe and Timbre, I see House in the Park, I see West Coast Weekender. So for us, it's like, hey, we want you to be able to go to Tribe. We want you to go to West Coast Weekender. We want you to be able to go. And guess what? All you Tribe heads, you need to come to West Coast Weekender. All you Groove Odyssey heads in Ibiza, you need to come here. You know, all in South Africa, Kai December, where everyone's celebrating. Guess what? We can all go to South Africa in December if we want to. So we're here kind of to close that gap and realize that we are all traveling music enthusiasts. And so once everyone knows that each other exists, I believe that it's going to raise the energy. More people are going to be attending all of the events, and more importantly, we as the event producers, the DJs, the enthusiasts are going to feel a part of one thing versus all these separate things.
Yeah. And one thing that kind of stuck in my head when it comes to that, you know, like I get it. Like people feel like they can't go. And I sort of liken that to how people talk about how they love house music, besides the ambiguity of the term nowadays. That aside, you'd be amazed what you can do when you prioritize it.
Yeah.
You know, at least within reason. I'm not saying if you really want to go, you can do it, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You know, that's a stretch. But there's a lot of amazing things going on. And here's one thing that I'd like to think, it probably happens in other genres, but we're talking about house music. And it's always funny how on one side you'll hear the phrase that once I was introduced to house, you know, my life was changed.
Yes.
I'm not as well versed in all of the genres, so I can't really speak. I can't say that doesn't happen there.
Yes.
Probably damned if it doesn't happen here, you know. And that alone, it encompasses a lot of those things. Now, obviously, everybody can't do everything, but generally speaking, there's something about this that makes you want to do. Whether it be self-care, whether it be go on holiday, whether it be experience, because you've already opened yourself up to an experience called house music.
Yes.
And it sort of begets everything else that comes afterwards, whether it be stepping your game up, whether it be, you know, making choices that fit better for you as you continue to grow as a human being and all other stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's really, it's amazing when you, like, even if I would just bring it back down to a DJ perspective, having that, for lack of a better word, influence to move people. And I try to avoid it being taken too lightly.
Okay.
That's what we do. You know, we move people. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're playing music, and we can split hairs about that.
Yeah.
There's the what, there's the how. But more importantly, there's the what, when, and the when, like those, that moment that person is in their life.
That's true.
You know, the party goer, the dancer, that whatever, like when people say, oh man, I needed that so bad.
Yeah.
I have no idea why, but it worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing.
That is interesting that you said that too, and you're 100%, because that also plays into, it's tricky as an artist, as a DJ, to understand that someone may come up to you and say, "This was the greatest set I've ever heard you play." Mm-hmm. Now you could be thinking like, it was okay.
Didn't hear that last transition.
But yeah, exactly. But that's how I felt last night. I'm like, my sister and my wife always ask me, like, how was it last night? I can only think about like the mistakes, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But what plays into it is like, you don't know what was happening in a person's life at the point that they heard it, right? So it's funny, earlier on, it's just like, oh, you think so? And you're thinking like, that wasn't that great. But it's kind of irrelevant because what it really is about is what's going on for the person in their life at that particular time. And then you can throw in what crowd, where did they see you? Like if they went to see you at the local spot they always see you versus if it's a city a produced event that felt like the trajectory of your career has amounted, or trended up, and they saw you there and they're proud of you.
Yeah.
You could have had a regular set.
Like letting the local dude, I don't want to say be a superstar. It sounds kind of pretentious, but
have the opportunity to showcase his talent on.
Because that could very well be a catalyst for some other business owner where he lives that go, holy shit, dude, it really is good.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah.